Hello, first graders. This is Miss Vanderhoff. We're going to be doing some reading poems together today. Our learning target is, by the end of today, I will be able to change my voice to match the tone of a poem. So the tone of a poem is kind of similar to what you've been talking with Ms. Lennon about the last couple of days. You're trying to figure out what the author is trying to tell to the poem. And you might notice that some poems are happy poems, some are sad, some are frustrated, some are scared. And so if you think about how maybe the character in the poem is feeling, when we read, we try to make our voice sound like that person's feeling. And so if it's a happy poem, we want to think about how we read it and read it in a happy way. And maybe if it's a sad poem, we read it in a sad way. So I'm going to share a couple of poems with you. We'll read through with the poems, and then we'll think about how we want to make our voice sound so it matches the tone of the poem or the feelings in the poem. So here's the first poem I'm going to share with you. And it might take a second to come up. This poem is called How Not to Have to Dry the Dishes. And this one's a Shel Silverstein poem. I know you've been listening to a lot of Shel Silverstein poems from Ms. Fraser. So first I'm just going to read it and think about what it means and maybe what kind of feeling the character's coming in with, and then I'll try to say it how the character might be thinking it. Okay. How not to have to dry the dishes. If you have to dry the dishes, such an awful boring chore. If you have to dry the dishes instead of going to the store. If you have to dry the dishes and you drop one on the floor, maybe they won't let you dry the dishes anymore. So let me think what the character's thinking when they're saying this poem. They're saying like, they're trying to think of like a sneaky way to get out of helping with the chores, right? Because they're saying it's an awful boring chore, so it seems like they really don't like helping to dry the dishes. And so they're trying to find a sneaky way to get out of it by dropping and breaking them, so then their parents won't ask them anymore. So now that I know what the character is thinking, I'm going to try to read it and show that feeling through my voice. All right, let's try again. How not to have to dry the dishes. If you have to dry the dishes, such an awful boring chore. Now that part I think I want to read like they're thinking how awful and boring it is. So they're going to say, such an awful and boring chore. So it kind of shows that it's boring. And then I'm thinking down at the bottom where it says, and drop one on the floor. I'm going to say it in a way that I'm thinking of like a really sneaky plan. All right, so now I'm going to try it again. How not to have to dry the dishes. If you have to dry the dishes, such an awful and boring chore. If you have to dry the dishes instead of going to the store. If you have to dry the dishes and you drop one on the floor, maybe they won't let you dry the dishes anymore. Did that sound a little sneaky, like I'm thinking like the character? Let's try another one. So this poem is called Second Mother by Nikki Grimes. So first I'm just going to read it, then I'm going to think about how the character's thinking and what they're feeling, and then I'm going to try to read it showing that feeling. I'm going to match their tone. All right, Second Mother by Nikki Grimes. Stop calling me your baby, don't call me little bit. Every time I hear those words, I grind my teeth and spit. Besides, I've got a proper name, and baby isn't it. Stop calling me your baby, don't call me little miss, and you're not my mother anyway. Remember, you're my sis. Are you thinking what that poem means? I can picture, it sounds like this is like a little sister telling it to her older sister, and maybe the older sister keeps calling her names like baby, little miss, and that really makes her feel frustrated. So as I'm reading it, I really want to match that feeling of being frustrated, and I want that to show through my voice when I read it. All right, so I'm going to read it again. Let's see. Oh, I think she's really, when it says, I grind my teeth and spit, I'm going to say that really like frustrated, like she's so frustrated that her sister's calling her these names. Okay. Second Mother by Nikki Grimes. Stop calling me your baby. Don't call me a bit. Every time I hear those words, I grind my teeth and spit. Besides, I've got a proper name, and baby isn't it. Stop calling me your baby. Don't call me little miss. You're not my mother anyway. Remember, you're my sis. Does that kind of sound like how someone would tell their older sister? And in fact, sometimes authors give you little clues. Do you see the word mother and sis? Do you see how the author wrote them kind of slanty? That's called italics. And that's the author telling you to kind of use a little emphasis say it a little bit stronger when you read those words. So where she says, "You're not my mother anyway. Remember, my sis." So she's like trying to emphasize those words. I'm going to read it one more time, thinking about those slanty, italicized words, and make sure I make those words really, really emphasized. Okay. Second Mother by Nikki Grimes. "Stop calling me your baby. Don't call me little bit. Every time I hear those words, I grind my teeth and spit. Besides, I've got a proper name, and baby isn't it. Stop calling me your baby. Don't call me little miss. You're not my mother anyway. Remember, you're my sis." Yeah, I thought that really shows the feeling in the poem. Now, I'm going to share something exciting for you guys. So I know we've been reading poems for the last 2 weeks, and what we're going to do now is today I want you to choose a poem. I'm going to send you a couple choices. I'll show you what it looks like. Hold on. So I made some slides with about 16 poems for you to choose from. Now here, you can choose one of these poems, but also you don't have to choose one of those. Maybe you wrote a poem this week or last week that you'd like to share, or maybe you want to find a different poem. That's fine. Any will work, but I'm going to give you a couple choices in case you want to choose one of mine. Hold on a second and I'll show you what it's going to look like. Okay. Okay, so you're going to have some slides with lots of different poems. So all different kinds about all different topics. And then you're going to choose one of those or choose your own. And you're going to practice reading it. I want you to really focus on how your voice sounds when you read it. Try to match the tone of the poem, because tomorrow I'm going to give you an opportunity to make a video recording of yourself reading the poem, and you can share it with the class, with all of first grade. So practice the poem today, and tomorrow we'll get to share them. It'll be really exciting. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.